Members are present and accounted for, and it's time for prayer. John Carney.
Almighty God, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here this evening to do the business of the county. We ask that the decisions made will be wise, discussion will be in keeping with the seriousness and the cooperation of good government. And Lord, we ask you to be with all of those in attendance. In your holy name we ask.
Amen. Okay, the first item is approval of September 20th, 2022 Rules and Legislative Committee minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The next item is consideration of placing the October 11th, 2022 Commission minutes on the November 8th, 2022 County Commission meeting agenda.
Make a motion to place those on the agenda without a recommendation.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next item is consideration of placing the notary applicants on the November 8th, 2022 County Commission agenda as requested by County Clerk Donna Thomas.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The veterans reports in a packet from September. There were 60 veterans that came by. There were 60 that were transported to the VA hospitals. There were 58 veterans that came by the Veterans Hospital. Mike, is anything else you want to add to the?
Well, we had our state training, so there was 3 days out for that, plus Labor Day. So.
Okay, yeah, they were down a little bit. I think there were 70 that had been transported in August, and 74 came by, so it was off. Okay, so the office was closed for training. Okay, that makes up for the difference. So a motion to approve the veterans report.
Yeah, move to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next two, of course, is the Ag Board. Did they meet this?
Actually, we did not have a quorum. However, due to the USDA grant that we applied for, Mr. Daniels said we had to have a meeting. Well, last night, we had Catherine Austin Fitz, and she is a national economist. She's been here for 3 days. She spoke several places all over the county. I think she was the economic czar, I think, for George Bush Sr. She gave a wonderful talk out there. So my boys, we had our meeting in the parking lot on David Parker's pickup truck. But anyway, we got that done and got it approved. So I think we've got everything in place for our grant, and I'll let them have the building. And we really appreciated it. Nice to have her in Bedford County. It was a really nice night for everybody to come out and listen to her.
She was Secretary of the Treasury,
I believe that's right.
Okay, well, great. Glad you got that emergency meeting.
Yeah, the pickup truck. It was a good one.
The next is the clinic report. Of course, that's for our own information. Again, on the medical, of course, Dr. Talbot had 17 hours of volunteer work, and I think they saw 98 patients in September. And dental, I think Dr. Gray had 15 volunteer hours, and they saw 18. So that's just for our own information, but they provide a valuable service for our community. Okay, the next is old business. We have the County Powers Act. That's something that Commissioner Vick and Chris White had going on, and then we wanted to review with legal counsel, and then we want some other, and we still are looking at it, but Commissioner Vick, you want to bring us up to speed with it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was a seminar that the Planning Department put on behalf of the Planning Commission and Zoning Appeal members last month as part of their requirement at 4 hours per year, and it was 2 hours. And that was one of the topics that was going to be discussed. But unfortunately, they ran out of time. But he promised us in December he will come back and will discuss this very specific thing. So I would encourage everyone, if Mr. White, if you could let everybody know when that is, because it would be very beneficial for all of us, especially on the Rules Committee, to sit in on that, as I know a number of commissioners were there for it, and it was very helpful, and it was an excellent presentation that he did, and good job on putting that together for us. So, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, we'll wait till January to put this back on the docket after we've all had a chance to talk about it and discuss it, and then we'll start a conversation. And you were correct, and everyone needs to be involved in that. So.
Okay, is there any questions? Okay, he's got a motion to defer for, until
Second.
January. There's a second. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, under new business, we have the, Longview, it's, at Chesterfield Farms, planned urban development. I guess we'll start, and we normally do, with, any representative from Chesterfield Farms would like to speak first, if there's any here. Would anybody that's on that side of it would like to speak? Yes, sir. If you state your name so the press can have it, and
Yes, sir. My name is Randy Sexton, and I'm the land manager for Landmark Homes, and I'm here to answer any questions that the commissioners may have tonight.
okay, thank you, Mr. Sexton. Okay, he's, with Landmark Homes of Tennessee, which would be building them. Okay, I guess it's, I don't know if we have any questions. I just soon get into it. We'll talk about it, and then maybe we can get some comments and be brought up to date by Chris White. But it was, I think it was deferred from May, and then we may have some other people as well that want to speak. So we will try to limit it outside of the committee here. We'll try to limit it in the audience, so we keep it to the issues, and certainly 2 or 3 minutes ought to be long enough to state your opinion. But I'll let anyone that wants to
Commissioner
talk, okay?
Appropriate time, I do have a statement I would like to read if y'all don't mind.
Okay, I'll certainly let you do it, Commissioner
All right.
Anderson.
First of all, the rule always around here in Bedford County has been 1 acre per house in a subdivision. It's always been that way, and it needs to stay that way. Now, my concern with PUDs is I don't want Bedford County to turn into Highway 99 going into Murfreesboro with high-density housing. Population growth to me is not real growth. What we need is the median income of Bedford counties to go up, not artificially raise it by bringing in more people from other counties. We need affordable, at least reasonable housing for our own, not to assist with the housing issues of Rutherford, Williamson, and Davidson counties. My next issue with PUDs in general is septic issues. I have serious concerns with the step septic systems. Anytime you're dealing with sewage and ponds, bad things can and might happen. Ponds leak and they overflow. I've had several of them myself. Under rainy conditions, it can cause a problem in rural settings that could affect livestock, wells, drinking water, and other people's property, maybe even yours. I've spoken with several people at Shelbyville Power that share my concerns that the step septic system may not be as good as it's been presented. Number 4, we do not have the infrastructure, resources, school capacity, roads, and maybe the county water from Bedford Utility to have PUDs out in the county. Bedford County is beautiful. Do we want to change rural Rolling Hill, Bedford County and turn it into something different? Because I fear we're never going to be Brentwood. My fear is we're going to be Antioch. Now, let me get to this specific PUD itself. Longview Planned Urban Development. Longview is not an urban area by any definition. Location, location, location. And to me, this is a bad one. It doesn't have the road capacity or the infrastructure. I do not see how Bedford Utility can furnish the water or water pressure when many of you that live out there have told me you do not have access to water and have well water. And then those of you that do tell me the water pressure is terrible. So I don't see how that's going to happen. My other concern here is public safety, the environmental septic I spoke to, the roads. I even question whether we can offer adequate fire protection if we have multiple PUDs out here and how long the response time would be on the fire. The residents of the area that have contacted me that I've spoke to overwhelmingly do not want this. They don't want to see their property values / taxes rise again. Because when your property value goes up, we've seen your taxes go up. And then I want to do some math for a second. If you did, and we're going to do rough math here, 130 houses at 2,000 square feet, the impact fee that would go to the schools one time is $260,000. 130 houses, and I may be a little high on this, but let's say the taxes are $2,000 a house. That's $260,000. But for every house we get here that brings in one child, it's going to cost $11,000. And the math on that is $1.43 million, $1,430,000. So you brought in on one hand, it looks to me like you're going $1 million in the hole on just this one. So who's going to pay for this? It looks like us with higher taxes. We ever let the genie out of the bottle on this one, it's going to spread all over the county, In rural agriculture, Bedford counties, we know it's gonna change forever. It's gonna be a Flat Creek next, Wheel here, Bell Buckle here. And all I'm saying is, I think 1 acre per house, it needs to stay that way, and that needs to perk. Thank you, I appreciate it.
If anybody else on the committee wants to speak before we go to the audience? Okay, would anybody like to speak for or against the proposal? Okay, yes, sir?
One clarification I'd like to make is it's only 109 homes that are proposed on 117 acres. So it is 1 unit per acre, 1 house per acre. So 130 was what we originally asked for. We came back, we heard the comments from the planning board.
Right.
We made concessions, we made changes. Chris can affirm that. We had the secretary of the school, Dr. Garrett, to show up. The school has adequate facilities for students. This is going to be a 5-year project. It's not 100 students are going to be dumped on the school the first year. It'll be perhaps 20, 25 students. Second year, 20, 25 students over time. Historically, kids graduate from school, so we're not adversely impacting the school by putting 100 students in it at a time.
Let me ask you this question, if you don't mind. What about this next PUD that was planned out here on Coopertown Road? So we get it in, now we're at 2 PUDs.
We don't know anything about that.
Okay, because once we allow the 1, my point is there's gonna be more. And it's gonna be more and more and more. And I know you can't slow growth, you can't stop growth, but I don't know why we need to encourage it right now when I don't think we have the infrastructure, the roads, and a bunch of other things here to accommodate massive growth.
Well, as far as the infrastructure goes, we actually have a letter from Buddy Cooch and Randy Head that the water line system will be adequate once we put our improvements on. We're actually running a new water line to increase the water pressure. We're improving the water for the residents in that area so that if they want to, they can get off of the well system. So again, we're not trying to make the situation worse. We're actually making it better. We're dedicating 10 foot of right-of-way on Longview Road. We're dedicating 10 foot of right-of-way on Davis for additional roadway work. The roadway network within the community is all private roads. We've made that agreement with Mark Clant, roadway superintendent. So everything that we're doing on.
You're putting the roads in yourself.
Yes, sir.
You're not turning them over to the county.
No.
You're putting in the sidewalks yourself.
Yes, sir.
Are you putting green space in the development there?
Yes, sir, actually more than is required.
Okay, are you putting shrubbery, trees, that kind?
Additional landscaping down each road,
And you're responsible for all this?
Yes, sir.
County's not responsible for it?
0. We have parks within the community. We have a playground within the community. We have curb and gutter, 5 different storm detention ponds.
So your ratio is 1-to-1, acreage unit there?
Yes, sir.
The only question is the density?
That's all it is.
Okay.
And right now, we're asking for less than 1 unit per acre. So we've come with hat in hand, we've made the concessions, and we're willing to stand by that.
Have you built a step system before?
We've built numerous step systems.
Have you had any
The company
problems
that-
with them?
No, sir. The company that actually will be running this one is called Venus Solutions. They're out of 4 different states. So they manage thousands of these systems. So they're a public utility company. It's not a fly-by-night company. This is somebody that they manage literally thousands of these systems in 4 different states or in the southeast United States.
Has there ever been an issue with a leakage on one of these retention ponds or an overflow in a flooding situation where, let's say, I have a farm next to it, and it just happens. You get a massive amount of rain, it overflows from the pond, it comes over to someone else's property. Have y'all ever had a problem with that before?
If you have a 500-year storm, but
Okay.
we're designing to a 100-year,
How big will the ponds be and how deep? Do you know that?
these ponds.
Uh-huh.
The largest one, I believe, is 5 acres. The smallest is approximately 2 acres.
Roughly how deep?
Yep, 6 feet.
Okay, thank you.
You're going to bond this, are you not?
We're bonding the entire project. So that's required.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a, I'm sorry, why is it going, I mean, I guess, why did you pick this specific area? Because it does seem like it's kind of far out of town, or, just,
Not really. I mean, in our demographic study, there's a demand for this price point of housing. This is, we're talking about homes that would be from the 400s on up to the mid 500s. And again, with the economy the way it is, there's a demand for that housing. Even in your county, if you look at the number of homes that have sold for that price point, you'd be very surprised at the number that have been sold.
Are any of the houses going to have vinyl on them?
No. All of our homes will be hardy, brick, and stone, combination of beach. We supplied our board and batten, so we supplied actual photographs of the homes that will be built within the community. What we're doing, PUD is it's a blueprint. If I told you we were going to build you a car, I'm going to give you a blueprint to that car, and we can't deviate. We can't tell you we're going to build you a Cadillac and then build a Volkswagen. It doesn't work.
So your plans will then come back, if approved, will come back to the planning commission, and those become the zoning ordinance in effect. Those are your restrictions.
That'll be the
And you have,
official record, and we'll be restricted to building those homes.
so you have restricted covenants
Yes, sir.
and bylaws
Yes, sir.
and a homeowner association.
Yes.
Homeowner association pays for the amenities there.
Right. Pays for everything within the neighborhood, including decorative lighting, curb and gutter repairs, street repair, trash pickup, all of that.
What about garages? Do you have garages on these houses?
All of the homes will be at least a two-car garage.
Are they facing to the
We'll have
front?
the option for a third car.
Okay. Do they face to the front or to the side?
They'll all be side in.
Side entrance.
Yes, sir.
May I ask,
Okay.
Mr.
Well, that's okay. I was going to let the audience, there might be some questions now. We just need to express your concerns. We're not going to get in any type of argument or discussion with the developers. But yes, ma'am. Just get up, state your name and what you've got to say. Be fine.
My name is Dolores Chester, and I live in the Longview community. And I just want to, thank the member for what he said, because we've gone over those things in previous months at the planning committee meeting, and we all agree that this thing does not belong in that area. I mean, if you go out there and look, there is nothing that's going to be like this little self-contained mini community. I mean, even the kids that live around there are not going to be able to go over there and play on the playgrounds. They're not going to have any access to it. This is going to be just people moving in there to take advantage of Bedford County's lower tax base and take advantage of Bedford County's lesser restrictions. And I hope the county doesn't just use that for a one-time revenue hit, because that's not going to solve any of Bedford County's problems. All we're going to do is lose our community. And I urge you to think about that. That's not going to be something that affects us for a few weeks or a few months, but it's going to be a lifetime for some of us. I mean, it's going to be forever. So it's something that's going to affect all the farmers in that area. People that are moving equipment up and down the roads, they're going to be 20 cars behind them, won't they? Fly around them, and it's very dangerous already, even, with the growth that we've had in that area. And we have several subdivisions. We have houses that are in the $300,000 to $500,000 range, sitting empty, that have never been sold, that are sitting there. And these houses are going to be by people, the residents that come in are not going to want to be part of the Longview community. They're not going to, they have no intention of being. All they want is to come in here and use that as a easy access to the other counties, because it's easy to get to Rutherford County and Marshall County and Nashville. It's easy to get there. So I urge you to think about that it's going to open up the floodgate. And we don't need any more, because we have all the residents we can handle in that area. The fire department is all volunteer. They're not there 24/7. So one house catches on fire, as close as these houses are, you're going to have a major fire. And I'm not sure that we have the capability of handling those things. We have flooding on our roads anytime it rains. All the fields are standing full of water. So if you have any of this leakage that happens, hey, it's just going to happen. It's going to overflow. It's going to be. So I urge you to think about those things. That this is our
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Eddie Stacy, and I'm on the ENS equipment field union. I've been in this community my entire life. I've seen it grow. I saw one of the biggest thing that ever happened to Shelby was the projects. I mean, you know, and this is going to be another situation that's going to be similar to that to me. This is a residential community. We have no infrastructure to support anything. If anybody wants anything to eat, they go to Murfreesboro, they go to Tullahoma. There's very little to eat in Shelby. There's very little. If you want something, you have to go to Murfreesboro, Nashville, some other place to get it. If we had more people in that community, I ask all of you to go down there and look at this. You would absolutely see the same thing we do. I live in that community. I've been in here my whole entire life. This is something that we will destroy our community. It will devastate the area. One of the things you probably aren't considering is water pollution. There's going to be a tremendous amount of water. The way I figured those houses and everything, there's going to be over 60 acres of it under roof. If you take 60 acres under roof, that water's got to go somewhere. Where's it going to go? It can't go in the ground. That's not counting the roads and all other access. That water goes right down through the sands in Travis's place. It's where the water goes in there. Okay, if you add that much more water volume to that, I've seen water 4 or 5 foot deep in that yard, down through there. Where is all this other going? And you're getting pollution because of this. Because asphalt pollutes the water. And you've got all kinds of other things that's going to. You've got the sewer system to deal with. Our school system, Mrs. Gray said that she's adding on, Mrs. Garrett, excuse me, is adding on to the school with COVID money. Okay, we have the COVID money now. Where's the next money going to come? It's going to come from us, the taxpayers. I paid my taxes 12 years ago. My taxes for this year are already taken care of. And I don't want them to go up anymore. And I own land in that area. I own land in 2 or 3 different other places around here. And our development is way out of control right now. I thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate the
thank
opportunity to talk.
Mr. Stacy.
I appreciate it if you would go there and look for yourself. I wouldn't make a decision of anything I didn't see with my own eyes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Stephanie Before, and I live on Coopertown Road. And Dolores and Eddie have addressed the logistic issues, and I want to address kind of the emotional issues concerning being a woman. That's probably a good topic for me. And it's the fact that I moved here with my twin boys about a year ago. I moved on to 15 acres because I want them to grow up in a rural community, in an environment where people have their priorities straight. I believe people that live in rural Tennessee, they focus on God, their family, their neighbor, and they're proud of the hard work that they do in their land. Now, yes, I moved here, and one of your colleagues, without naming names, called me hypocrite for trying to speak up against the subdivision. But I did not move here to just say I live in the country. I moved here for my boys' reason, and I also want to become part of the farming community. I have cattle on my property. I have 7 chickens, a lot of eggs going to my dogs. But I'm trying to become part of the farming community. I want to learn. I want to help to farmers. I learned from Mr. Eddie. And so that is the reason why I'm here. I gave the zoning committee this analogy. First, I asked them a question. Why are you a member on this committee? Are you truly a member to make a difference in this community, or are you trying to fill your pockets by approving projects like this, the subdivision? But the analogy I gave the zoning committee was this. Every community is like a quilt, and we are a community of different pieces of people, like different shapes, sizes, colors, all finely knit together. Now you bring in a shiny object, like a piece of glass, that you're trying to sew into this quilt. Is that quilt useful now? No. If you give that quilt to your grandmother or to your grandchildren, they won't be able to use it. They're going to cut themselves, the quilt will fall apart because you cannot sew a piece of glass into a quilt. And that's what the subdivision is. It will ruin this community quilt that we have here. So I'm asking you to please consider the culture of our community that we have, the farming community that we have, and please help us maintain that quilt and send that pretty piece of glass to an area where there's maybe a mosaic that is being built, and it will be beautiful there.
does not fit into our community growth. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, any other citizen like to speak? Okay, yes, sir?
Ellie Finch.
I see the idea of the HUD coming into the county. Who's going to benefit from it most? Not the county, the developer. And when the developer's done, he leaves. And once he leaves, he leaves it to the county. People in this county don't have to pay because you're going to increase the school system. We've got 100 houses, the average is 2.5 kids per home. How much does it take to teach your children for 1 year, one child, 1 year in our system? About $11,000, I believe. Are you going to recoup that from them building those homes? Are you going to get that in 1 year? No. You won't get that taxes out of them for 20. So who's going to pay for the rest of it? Every one of us in this room. Nobody else. When the developer's gone, he goes, bye-bye, I got no money. He leaves. We're left holding back. Y'all need to look at this a little harder, especially the financial end of it. Not today, but in 5 years, what's it going to look like? It's going to look rough. I hope you make a good choice.
Okay, anyone else? See if somebody else had a hand up, anyone else like to speak? Okay, yes, sir, yeah, thank you, and then we'll let ladies speak next.
So I want to just say that I echo the same passion that I hear tonight, and I have to tame my tongue, but I can't tame my heart. So the one thing that I will say is that with any successful plan, there has to be a contingency plan. There has to be things put down on paper. I heard several questions tonight that seem to be led to the answer, and I don't think that's the way to go. The folks that are involved in this situation that will be impacted or affected, which will possibly be all of us, they need to know the facts before this development occurs. Just like the gentleman just spoke to, once it happens, it's there. You can't change that. So we need to know what's going to happen after that has already been established. What happens after it's already built? And I think that the people of Bedford County deserve that answer. That's not too much to ask. You know? Folks, this is the reason why I wanted to get into office, was to be a voice for the people. It seems like sometimes that we go down a path because it's best for some agendas or it's best for certain folks. But I'm going to be honest with you. We got to look at what's best for our county. It has nothing to do with what's best for a specific little bitty piece of it. The people of Bedford County deserve the best. And we all moved here for a specific reason. Whatever that reason is to you, that's your reason. But for a lot of us, it's the look and the feel of the rural community that we have in Bedford County. We can't stop the growth. It's going to come. But we can definitely do something to make sure that as it does come, we have a firm plan in place that's not going to have a negative impact on our county. The last thing I'll say is this. For those commissioners that are in that area, I urge you, get out and talk and knock on every door, make calls and find out what the people want. For me in District 1, I'm going to make a decision based on what District 1 wants. And I'll be dang sure to make sure that I have their opinion before I make a decision. And I know Commissioner Hooker will feel the same way. Not to speak for you, sir. That's just the way it is. We're in office for the people's agenda. And I hope that we make the right decision. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Norma Jean Landon Miller. I live down in Grover. But as I said at the Planning Commission in the last meeting, my ancestors founded you. I think they would be appalled at what's about to happen. At that Planning Commission, they basically said their hands were tied. Even though many of them didn't want to vote, they voted yes with a heavy heart, said it was the wrong location, and I wouldn't want this in my community. What was presented to them, their hands were tied, so they had to go forward. And I understand that. And by the way, I applaud you for what you just said.
Thank you, ma'am.
I agree with it 100%.
My hands are not tied, ma'am, I'll assure you.
This may be incorrect information, but I have been told that Mr. and Mrs. Chester Gravlis placed this farm that this is going to be built on as some of their other farms in the Land Trust of Tennessee. The Land Trust of Tennessee is to make sure that it stays farmland. I urge you to check this out and make sure that this farm has been removed from the Land Trust of Tennessee. Again, I say it could be incorrect information. I have considered it for my own farms because it has to remain farmland unless it's taken out. But it seems to me if that's the indication, if that's what Mr. and Mrs. Gravlis wanted, they wanted it to remain farmland. You don't just put your land in a trust willy-nilly. You think that through. One of the planning commissioners said that it would not be young families living here. It was designed to appeal to the 55-plus community. I respectfully disagree with that. Dale Webb has that development, that whole situation locked up. They are developing a new development right on 96, right outside of Murfreesboro. That Murfreesboro can handle that. Unionville, that farm, we don't have the infrastructure. I think everybody's talking about. They don't have it in place. And as she alluded to, trust me, I am in the 55 plus, well plus that. And if I were going to buy a home, I'd go right down to the end of Longview Road and buy one of those really nice houses on those 5-acre lots that nobody's looked at because they've been built and nobody can afford them. So, that's just my 2 cents. I ask you to talk to your local bankers. See that Landmark there and see if they would be willing to put mortgages down in that development. CMG Financial of Franklin is their preferred lender. Check them out as well. This is getting ready to impact all of us. I would encourage you to talk to, there have to be other land developers here in Bedford County, particularly in terms of the step system. I'm not a builder, and I don't know that, and I know those people who just develop 5 acres. There's that whole niche of developers who do that. But surely to goodness, there has to be another developer, and I would urge you to talk to them, to have them look at that land and see if that step system will work there. Common sense tells me it won't, but I'm not a developer. I can't do that. And as I brought up in the last meeting, I'm also concerned with the rising interest rates that you're getting ready to have some houses unfinished sitting there. The rising interest rates is not only going to affect them, but the rising interest rates are going to affect the people who are going to buy those houses or can't afford to buy them. In my opinion, your locals are going to be priced out. They cannot afford that. And there's just not the infrastructure as everybody's talked to. And even I go to Murfreesboro. I go other places. And I'm still working in Nashville, but I'm coming and going from Rover every day. But I'm in the process of retiring, and I'm retiring right back to the farm where I grew up. And again, I pay my land taxes just like everybody else, and they are going up. I appreciate that. It has to be. But this is not, my mother, God bless her soul, years ago, wanted a wheel tax. I don't know why in the heck we can't get a wheel tax passed here in Bedford County. That affects us all, not just the landowners. Why can't we do that? That would be one source of revenue. I have to pay it even though I'm not living in Nashville right now, but that's okay. Again, I just urge you to go down there. Every commissioner, unless they go look at that, drive the roads, look at that land, you are not doing what the citizens of Bedford County elected you to do, in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Yes, sir?
I am a farmer, and I am also Bedford County Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Directors. We had a meeting last night, and we were exploring sources of money to start fixing the failed septic systems that are already in this county. And looking at the number of phosphates and feces that are already going into the Duck River, right there before. And this is in the Alexander and Whitfield Creek watershed, dumps right into the river, right before the water treatment. And I strongly encourage y'all to think about that before you go put 109 more houses on a type of system that we've never had in this county before. And also, I think that they have a really nice plan. All their I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, but it don't belong here. And once you allow the first one in here, there's going to be, the county's going to eat up. And it's going to, our homes on the way home anymore. Thank you.
Okay. Any other
What
comments?
is the exact address of the property?
Wouldn't have them out. On.
So if we're going to look at it, where are we going? Longview and Davis.
Yeah,
Davis and Longview.
it's on the right when you go north.
It's right across the street from 1325.
Thank you. Looks like across the street.
Yes, ma'am, do you want, you
I
got,
just wanted to say that, my name is Jessica Brown, from Lake Forward. Of course, we farm in that community. And I just want to say that, I was reading an article the other day, on just the growing loss of farmland in Tennessee. And I read something that said Tennessee lists agriculture on the state seal, but it's third in the nation on farmland loss. So, when I'm thinking about the future generation for my children, or maybe the third generation farmer and his family, and my children, and my niece, and so on and so forth, there will be nothing left for them. And at this rate, the way it's growing, I agree with everybody in this room, it does not belong here.
okay. Yes, sir.
Ben Chapman. I just bought a farm not too far from there, and I have to say, I've looked at the pictures, y'all done a very good job on it. However, I am in agriculture. I do make pretty good money on 3 jobs. I couldn't afford to have to be more. That's all a lot. I just wouldn't do that. My heart's in agriculture. Everybody knows me, knows that. However, we do have a fire department guy here. I'd like to know how long it would take if we did have a fire at homes 10 foot apart. How many homes could be destroyed before they could be built? I don't know if the fire department feels like speaking on that, but just as a public service from Bedford County, we got to consider it. Or we're going to have more fire trucks. We're going to build fire departments if we start putting plugs out for them. That's what I'm looking at, and then that costs me money. I pay taxes as well, just like everybody else does. But at the end of the day, y'all commissioners are the ones spending our money. So at the end of the day, it's up to y'all. If we put in this PUD, we're putting PUDs everywhere. I want to see a PUD everywhere, or it's discrimination if it's just one area. If we are not going to provide them fire and ambulance services, is there a potential lawsuit there? That's the things as commissioners y'all get paid to do, not me. I ask y'all to consider that. If we're going to put this many houses there at 10 feet apart, I don't know if the fire department would speak on that, but my calculation, it's going to take over 30 minutes to get a fire truck there. And, several homes will be damaged. Who's to blame at that point? I ask y'all to look into that.
Okay, any other comments? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Drew Hooker. I'm a commissioner for District 1. There's a reason I run for office, and it was to fight for the people of this county. And I think it speaks volumes, that the only thing we've heard from the county residents is negative towards this. No, the only person that has talked positive about this is the developer. And so the thing is I think it speaks volumes to that this is obviously not a popular thing in that area. And I think that as commissioners, our number one responsibility and our main responsibility is to be a representative of the people, not our own agendas. Thank you.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, we certainly need to push it to the full commission. It's just whether it's favorable or unfavorable, I guess, will be the only thing. So I don't know. We certainly need to push the commission.
May I ask you one question?
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. White, did the planning commission recommend this? Did the planning commission have in their manual a place for the PUDs? Have they complied with everything in the manual that they have submitted to you? Is there anything that staff or your office has that's of any concern that is outside of what they are supposed to do? Is there anything that concerns you? Have they met all their necessary requirements? Okay.
And it's quite difficult to get a PUD approved. There's a lot of things you got to jump through, and dealing with the infrastructure, dealing with all the things that they have to do, it's pretty complex. And so, yeah, the plan has met all of that. So,
okay.
One of the things we did, we had Dr. Garrett come to the meeting. Dr. Garrett talked about schools. Mark Clanton at the meeting, he talked about the road. So, I mean, I get that if you live on Longview, you know, and you're there every day, you're probably going to see traffic patterns and things that you might not, you know, you're probably going to see more than the average Joe, but just looking at it, but from an engineering point of view, Mark says that the road can handle it. So those are the people that are in charge of those things, that's responsible for those kind of things. So, you know, school superintendent says they can handle it, the schools can handle whatever Mark Clanton says the roads can handle it, then that's what you have to rely on.
Well, based upon the recommendation, Mr. Chairman, I say we move this to make the motion that we move it to the full commission.
Okay, we certainly is a second.
He's doing that with a favorable motion, correct?
Well, we're gonna vote on it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's favorable. Is there a second? It needs to go to commission.
It'll have to go to the
Has to go to
commission.
commission.
Okay, is there a second? Then we'll say
vote.
yay. Okay, to approve it, with a favorable recommendation. We know we're pushing it on to the commission. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
And I'm going to say no as well. So it's going to go to the commission from the rules with an unfavorable recommendation, but it does go to the commission. Okay, the next thing is, in his other business, the homeless task force, Commissioner Hooker and Commissioner Maddox had that on there. I did call the city hall because there's some question. I think, Commissioner Thomas from 9th District thought that there was maybe a task force already in place. They didn't know of any, at least. I talked to the secretary there at City Hall, and they weren't aware of anything. She said something, maybe homelessness or something, but I think that mainly had to do with foster children, and another lady was doing that. I don't think it was addressing that. So I believe we can go further, and I got to thinking about it, and in all honesty, I'm in the 9th District. I've probably got more homeless people in my district than any other district in this county. So I've got some interest in it because a lot of homeless, this is under Duck River Bridge, which goes over into the 9th District. So I've got some interest in this myself, and I'd like to serve on that committee as well if you get one formed. And we certainly need to involve the city, and I'm surprised the city didn't have one, and if they did, the secretary wasn't aware of it. So I do think we need to go forward with this and just develop it, ever how you want to, Commissioner Hooker?
Yes, sir. So just to address that, the reason I brought it forward was because I spoke to several members that were on the original task force, or the original group that the city put together. When the city manager, the last city manager left, that committee stopped meeting. And so that is why I feel like that it's time for the county to step up and join with the city, because this is not only a city problem, this is a county problem as well. So I think that this is definitely something that with the recommendation that I brought forth to the last commission, I would love to put it together a task force with those members on there, because I think it addresses a wide array of the needs of the community. But more importantly, it involves all the different agencies that would have a piece of the pie in that. I think we need to get ahead of it, because everybody I've spoke to in Murfreesboro city government, as well as Williamson County. I used to work in Williamson County, and we saw an uptick about 15 years ago, and they did the same thing. They put together some task force to get ahead of it and to be able to address it. I just think it's something that needs to be an ongoing conversation, and so with your permission, I'd love to move forward with this back to the commission.
Yes, sir. I don't know if we have to do anything else that was put on the agenda. I mean, you're just working on something side, and then when you do get together, it's advisory committee, yes. Okay.
Yes,
Mike,
Mr. Commissioner, just to let you know, the VFW just donated 2,000 cans of canned goods to Soup Kitchen for the homeless. And we're also doing clothing drives as well for the wintertime.
Yes, thank you. That should be commended. And of course, that Food Kitchen was certainly, and it was a coordination with a lot of churches. Started at the first church here, and it sort of expanded out. Several churches are involved with it now, and it's a wonderful thing. And that's on the south side too, which is in the 9th district. So, and there's several other churches that are involved with that. In fact, yes, Commissioner Pitts.
Homeless is one part. They serve anyone that needs a meal.
Yes.
They didn't even stay during the census. So it's one part. Okay, just.
Yes, I mean, they're feeding all people that need food. Hunger can not just be homeless. There are a lot of people children that go to bed hungry every night. Exactly, so. So are you good with this, Commissioner Hooker?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, good. So we're just generally speaking, I'm certainly for it. And like Circles, much of that homelessness is in the 9th district. We certainly need to get the city involved though, as much as we can. Okay, good.
One other thing.
Yes.
As everyone knows, the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, the Bedford County Higher Education System, is going to be breaking ground relatively soon. They're having a project rollout, economic inclusion, community outreach meeting on the 24th at the TCAT building, Messer Construction. If you are a subcontractor, a supplier, if you're a woman business enterprise, a disabled vet business enterprise, a small business enterprise, a disabled small business enterprise, or anyone who wants to do work, this is the time to go meet with the general contractor, because they want local people and they're trying to hire local people. So it's a huge, huge deal. $43 million state project, the largest project we've had from the state in the history of Bedford County. Then on Thursday, if you remember, Mr. Chairman, a year ago, we had our first education roundtable where we brought all the teachers in and talked about workforce development, how we can develop dual enrollment through our school. Well, they're having the second one. A year's gone by on the second one, and this time they're taking almost 400 teachers, and they're going to tour, I think, 11 businesses. They're going to show them what their businesses do, how they can interact with the student, what kind of opportunities, what kind of student they're looking for. So it is a very important meeting, and the director of schools has allowed the teachers to go on this, and it's a big deal, and we just keep pushing things along here on our workforce development. So,
absolutely, it's a
thank you.
Very valuable thing. Okay, in announcements, of course, and I think it's already started in the city, and you have to be as within the city, but they're having a cleanup this week. So if you've got excessive stuff affecting some of your subdivisions, you've probably seen stuff carried out to the road. So whenever they pick up your trash, if you've got some other things you'd like to get out of your home, you can put it on the curb and they'll pick it up. Boys and Girls Club is meeting tonight. I had to recline going at 6, and I might have could have made it since it's just 10 till, but I didn't. But Boys Boys, Girls and Club is very important in this community. They provide a valuable service. It's a fundraiser. I know we're not gonna be able to be there, but if you can send them a small check of any amount, they do a valuable service, for our children, school-aged children here. And they are meeting tonight at Blue Ribbon Circle at 6, so, and started yet, but it's fixing to start. Is there any other announcements? Anything else? Okay, there's a
Move to
motion to
adjourn.
adjourn. Okay, so moved. All right.